Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, my friends, and welcome back to the Cozy Club. Disney Sorcerer's Arena is a game that constantly changes. There is nothing worse than investing into a character and shortly after, they're already outdated and all that gear, all that gold, all the level up potions, the time, the farming, all wasted because they're just not viable. You see, most of these changes come via new characters coming into the game, like Tiana's introduction, shut down Ursula and all of her harmful effects, and it's the ebbs and flows of the meta and the constant changes that these characters provide. Now, just like any other game, it is essential that these changes happen because, well, it keeps the game fresh and keeps the meta ever moving. However, it doesn't take away that it's extremely frustrating. So with that being said, every single year, guys, we make one new video about the safest characters to invest in. These characters are individual characters with kits, combinations of basic game mechanics that simply are always going to be around. Now, most of the time, your favorite, let's say, damage dealer doesn't have anything proprietary to that character, whereas another character that kind of uses either leaderships, helpful effects, or has great faction synergy is always going to be viable, and that is the point of today's video. We're going to go through every single faction in the game, and I'm going to highlight the few characters in those factions that I think have the kits and the overall future proof of a kit and abilities that are going to stand the test of time. And these are the recommendations of characters that I can say you can invest in them, and most likely they're going to be legit your whole way through. Now, the reason I think this video is so important is, well, just because a character is amazing or great at the game doesn't mean they're going to last and doesn't mean they're super safe. So if you're one of those players that just have all these resources collected and you're too scared to spend it, or you've just been wondering who's safe and who can you invest in that's going to be great with new game modes, new characters, and their kits are future-proof, then today's video is going to be all for you. Let's jump into it. Alrighty, let's jump right into the 6 main factions of DSA: Kingdom, Oceanic, Wild, Downtown Villains, Downtown Heroes, and Mythicals. Now, remember, just because a character is great doesn't mean they're going to make this list, and I'm going to go through this pretty fast so that you guys get a good understanding of why a character is in here and why others have been left off. Now, before we begin, guys, if you have not joined one of the amazing Cozy Club communities, we've got a Discord server with a lot of great people, good conversation, and DSA help if that's for you. The awesome live stream community that we have over on Twitch, guys. Join the dopamine, join the fun, ton of fun there. You can find that down in the description below. And finally, if you want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram, the links are down in the description below. Let's hop into the Kingdom faction. This is going to be the faction that is ever growing and one of the best ones within the game. After all, pretty much every Disney character was in a kingdom at some point for the most part. And that is why you find so many iconic and great characters here. Now, we have 8 awesome characters that I've chosen to be more of the safe investments. If you're all for the Kingdom faction, that is being Shan Yu, Rapunzel, Yzma, Maleficent, the Beauty and the Beast, Esmeralda, and Namaari. Now, at the top of that list, we've got Shan Yu and Rapunzel. Now, speed is king within the game, and as long as these two are the only ones with speed leads for their dedicated faction or princesses, in Rapunzel's case, they're not going anywhere. Shan Yu is a little bit more risky because he's had that kingdom speed lead for so long, and Rapunzel, she's not going anywhere. One of the safest investments. She was on last year's list, and she remains to be great, and in fact, she got buffed. Now, Yzma, Belle, and Esmeralda all have very unique kits that are going to work into the future of the game. Yzma just got a new refresh, and she's great within the raids and one of the best PvP characters. Now, as for Belle and Esmeralda, they have an amazing raid kit, both of them, both doing something huge for that game mode. Then most of all, they have huge plug-and-play ability, and no one's going to take that spot anytime soon. Now, just because you're a legendary doesn't mean you're a safe character to invest in, but Maleficent and Beast, of course, are going to be very safe characters. Beast, as long as he has that passive, Master the Castle, he will always be relevant within DSA. One of the safest investments, in fact, because of that passive, all having to do with the turn meter within the game. And then Maleficent, she's the mistress of all evil. The villains constantly get buffs through other villains coming out, and she has great control aspects. She's not going anywhere. One of the newest legendaries, and she's here to stay. Lastly, for Kingdom, we have Namaari. Now, I'm going to be very hesitant to put damage dealers on this list. Damage dealing is not let's say, proprietary abilities, right? Like, everyone can do big damage, and there's always going to be a new big bad damage dealer within the game. But because of the way Namari works and the way she synergizes with Kingdom villains, she's on the list. Now let's jet on over to the Oceanics. Guys, Oceanics are a very complex faction, and I think they have a ton of room to grow. We got this weird thing in DSA where factions kind of get love at certain points during the year, and Oceanics, they've gotten Peter Pan. Yes, they got Milo and Kita, but they haven't had anything faction-wide to bump up the viability, so I expect something coming soon. But the Oceanics have 6 great characters as of now that have enough unique things going for them. Now let's start Oceanics off with Maui and Moana. Maui's easy. He's the only Oceanic lead that we have at the moment, and if there's anything we know about DSA, they don't add a ton of leaderships. And I'm thinking that the Oceanics' whole vibe is to have big, strong, meaty shields, and Maui's going to provide that. Now, Moana's a little bit more interesting. So long, she's been one of the best characters within the game in so many different aspects. However, if you look at her kit, she doesn't have anything especially insane about her. Outside the fact that she's an adventurer, a princess, and an Oceanic, I do see another damage-dealing Oceanic character coming to take her spot, let's say. But for the time being, I wanted to put her on the list because she definitely makes sense in a lot of teams. Oh, Wendy. Wendy is unique. Peter Pan's shadow is one of the weirdest interactions within the game, and it's one of the most overpowered interactions that we have amongst all the different game modes. And Wendy has the ability by herself to create more and more Peter shadows, and that's going to make her great for a very long time. People are a little hesitant to invest in Wendy, but you're going to use her for times to come. And I can almost promise you that in future strategies for all game modes, Wendy's going to be involved in some capacity to maximize the amount of damage or scoring or whatever in that game mode. Lastly, for the Oceanics, we have Milo and Kita. Now, Milo's on this list because he is the leadership for Club Expeditions, and I think we're at just the tip of the iceberg for that game mode. He has gone down a little bit in viability, and they already touched up his kit, so he's not going to get any worse, and he's already a great character. He's safe to invest in if you're all in the Club Expedition game mode. And as for Kita, well, she is setting the meta all by herself, and she's pretty much the future of DSA. Kita might be the safest one to invest on this list as she's the newest character, and she's totally bonkers. Let's move on over to the Wild faction, one of the hardest factions as far as safe characters are concerned. Now, Snow White, we're seeing a lot of the minors as well. They are in the Wild category, so it's going to be tough to place them. We have to see how that all fleshes out. But as of the time of making this video, we've got Lily and Frank, Merida, Elsa, and Shere Khan, believe it or not. So let's start with Shere Khan. Now, if you kind of look at it, he's pretty future-proof. He's all about himself. His passive is one of the best within the game, and his damage output will stand the test of time and has stood the test of time. All he needs is a wild leadership, and he's going to be even better. He has the villains tag for that synergy. Shere Khan, pretty safe. Now, Merida, we already know, extremely busted. By far one of the safest characters as far as pure damage numbers. Can't go wrong there. And Elsa. Elsa's going to make the list, not because she's a legendary, but you'll see others in this list as well. When their whole kit is based around helpful effects, they are future-proof. Helpful effects aren't going anywhere, and there's going to be more and more introduced into the game. And as the game grows and power creep comes, Elsa's going to remain on top. Of course, Frank and Lily just have great kits. They're adventurers, and they're used everywhere. They're already so great, and they're going to continue to be safe investments. Downtown villains. All right, so first off, we've got Dr. Facilier. He's probably the toughest. Just got a refresh. He's a little buggy, a little weird at times, and something tells me downtown villains are going to get a better leadership down the road. But as of now, really great leader and great character altogether. The new gargoyles can output so much damage. Xanatos, one of the most consistent plug-and-play tanks within the game. And the two of them, you can get early on for the most part, at least with Demona. And you can continue to invest in them. They're going to continue to be great. Pretty much all the downtown villains are just huge damage dealers. And mainly with the downtown villains, I feel like they're due for a massive buff or faction rekit, kind of like we're seeing with the Wilds now. We've got Zerg and Randall. Randall, one of the best raid characters, and he just is going to work in so many game modes. And the way his damage works, He's definitely not the like one I would invest in out of this entire list. He's definitely safe. Zerg has been doing what he has been doing for a very long time, and the way his glass cannon ship works, if that's your thing, it's never going away, and so you can feel free to invest in him very safely. Now we've got the biggest faction, Downtown Heroes. Now you think we would have a lot of different choices here, but I actually limited it down to just 8. These are the 8 characters that within their kit, again, doesn't mean other ones aren't good, but the things that these characters have are very unique, and they're going to scale with the game absolutely perfectly. First and foremost, we're starting off with Mike Wazowski and Sully. Great characters. They kind of just got refreshed, and what they provide is very new and kind of uncounterable. Mike has a great kit for the raids. He's incredible with tactics, great synergy, great plug and play ability. Next up, we just have insane character kits in both Ralph and Tiana. Ralph is able to purge and get rid of so many helpful effects. He has an insta-kill that's not going away anytime soon. And then, of course, Tiana's healing and her resisting for the entire team to have harmful effects land on them just screams future-proof. That's not going anywhere at all. There's nothing that's going to counter that. As for Dash, Dash was a tough one. Dash was a tough one because he already can be countered. And some would say, a lot would say, he's already not a safe investment. However, I think we've already seen the come and go of the charge mechanic. In the way that he works, he should still be able to work in pretty much all game modes. Maybe not PvP, especially with all the counters of turn meter and things like that. But Dash is safe as far as PvE and raid standards go, without question. There's always been this problem, and it's this insane Dash damage problem. Scrooge McDuck is just like Elsa with the helpful effects. Frozone, awesome kit, obviously going to be used in so many game modes in the future. And of course, Hero Hamada, who's been buffed and nerfed and buffed and nerfed, changed up and down through the metas. But again, it is a speed game, and Hero is all about the speed and continues to be amongst the safest characters to invest in throughout your entire journey. And lastly, we've got the Mythical faction. This was the last faction to get sizzled up, and that DSA spent a lot of time on. Obviously, with the Siege on the Olympus raid, we've got a good amount of characters here. Let's start at the top. I have Pain and Panic on this list strictly because of their stasis ability. Simply put, they can counter anybody in the game, and they're going to continue to counter anybody in the game. Nobody can do what they do, and quite honestly, they were so complex, I don't think any form of what they do will ever be replicated again. Hercules, because, well, Hercules, he's going to continue to be Hercules, and yeah, same as his dad Zeus. Just great characters. They're obviously not going anywhere. Super safe to invest in. Next, we have Hades, who I was kind of hesitant to put on this list, if I'm being honest. He does great damage. He doesn't have a lot strictly to him. Now, what pushed him over the edge for me is the pure damage he does to shielded enemies. Shields just keep making their way come back. The meta we're currently in is about health and shields, and so that's why Hades is on the list. And that leads us to Miguel. Now, Miguel's just like Shan Yu, Rapunzel. He's the speed leadership. Zeus has come and gone. His leadership didn't overtake the Mythical, faction by storm. That's kind of what we were waiting on for Miguel's viability. Miguel's here to stay. Great character. You can safely invest a lot of gear into Miguel. The Mythical's got so much love. I think it's going to be some time before they get love again, but they're certainly not going anywhere. And then, yes, finally, to cap the video off, we have the Sorcerer's Chosen, which invest in them to a degree. Sally and kind of what you can do with the huge Ian teams. I don't know what's going to happen there. Safety-wise, I would say Sorcerer's Chosen, get them to be eligible to enter the raid, and from there, they're obviously a fine investment. Alrighty, Cozy Club, so there you have it. The safest characters to invest in every single faction. Now, remember, just because you've put a lot into a character that's not on this list doesn't make them bad. It just means that I think down the line, something or someone might counter or stop what they're doing. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed this video. I know last time we did this, outside of the giant hero nerf, we were right on the money for a lot of the safe characters, and hopefully this saves you guys resources, gold, and all that good jazz. If you guys haven't already, go ahead and take a second, click the red subscribe button to help support me as a creator. It helps a ton, and you'll get notified for future videos. And until next time, stay cozy.